I'm good at talking. Hello sunshine, it's Rachel back again. So today's video is gonna be kind of like a book review. Not kind of, it is a book review. I said in my very first video of this year, which went through like my goals for the year of 2020. That seems so long ago. You know, I thought life was gonna be so different then. Anyways, that's not the point. In that video, I said one of my goals was to read 25 books this year. Fingers crossed, am I right? That happened. I am behind. I'm behind on what I'm supposed to be reading. It's supposed to be approximately 2 books a month, and then 1 extra book just like shoved in there, somewhere. But we're in the 4th month and I have read 5 books, so I need to read 3 more books before April ends for me to be on track for the year. I do think my plan is to do a book review for each like 5 sections, so ideally there'll be 4 more of these videos. Question mark? Let's see. So I'm gonna tell you what I like, basically what it's about, what I thought, and then I'm gonna rank them. I will say I have actually talked about a few of the books that I've read on this channel already, but not in a lot of detail, so sorry if you've already heard a little bit about it. So the first book that I finished this year is called oh my god, why? I literally just looked at the title. So the first book that I read this year is also the only one I currently have physically with me. It's Every Word You Cannot Say by Iain S. Thomas. I think I did talk a little bit about this. I don't remember what I said or what I included in the video. So sorry. But this was the first book I finished. It is very good. I liked it a lot. It's a poetry book about mental health. When I looked on Goodreads at reviews for this, a lot of people referred to like each page as a poem. It's kind of like boop, boop, boop. Look at that. That's just a random page I opened too. But I personally read it more as one long poem. I do think if you read it with each page being a poem, it makes less sense. I thought this was very good. I either gave it a 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads. I enjoy having it in my arms to hold while I talk about it. The next book I read was called Marvel, Powers of a Girl. It's by Lorraine, Lorraine Cink? I don't know if I spelled it right, or nope, said it right. I'll write the titles below with the authors. And then Alice X Zhang is the illustrator. Honestly, it was kind of a coffee table book, you know, the type with like a lot of pictures, and it goes through the majority of the female Marvel like superheroes and characters. Some of them I don't think are officially superheroes, but Powers of a Girl makes an argument that every girl is a superhero in her own way, and I just really liked it. I really like superheroes. I really like girl power, and this kind of combined the two and talked about all of the characters that kind of don't always get to shine, don't get their moments in the sun. So I really liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The third book I read, I have talked about relatively recently. The next 3 are all books that I have read since like staying at home. So I've read 3 books in a month, and it took me 3 months to read 2 books, so doing great. But the first one that I finished while in this pandemic was The Hidden Power of Effing Up by the Try Guys. Although I don't know why, but Goodreads says it's just by Keith. Only Keith wrote it. I really like this book. I'll explain it to you the way I tried to explain it to my parents. The way that I see it is, it kind of is a self-help book, except a lot of times when you read a self-help book, it's someone giving advice, just point blank giving advice to you. And then they might sprinkle in their own stories. Whereas when I was reading the Try Guys book, it felt like kind of the opposite. Like they were like, hey, we have a philosophy, and to teach it to you, we're gonna tell you stories of how we've used it, and then you take away from it whatever you want. Which was an interesting take on like the self-help-ish genre. I liked it a lot. It was very good. I definitely cried a few times. Yeah, it's a good book, and I would definitely recommend it. Let me tell you exactly what I rated The Hidden Power of Effing Up. Oh, gave it 5 stars. So the next book that I finished was The Maze Runner by James Dashner. It's the first book in a trilogy, and I haven't decided if I'm gonna finish the trilogy yet, so I guess it tells you more or less how I felt about it. The Maze Runner came out around the time, when young adult dystopian novels were popular. Like, I was trying to come up with another adjective, and young adult dystopian novels. They were super popular, Hunger Games, Divergent. I know there's at least a few others. But yeah, that like YA genre was like real big, and The Maze Runner came out around that time approximately. Like the plot of the book is that there is a dystopian world, and a bunch of teenage boys get put into the center of a maze, and they have to try to figure out how to get out without dying. So it's kind of like Lord of the Flies mixed with a few other dystopian novels. I think the 2 biggest problems I had with the series, or not the series, I haven't read any of the other books. I do know some about what happens, I will say. Like, it's not like I'm completely, like, I didn't enter this book's trilogy, with no knowledge of anything that happens. I don't know why I know the plot, like, of the whole trilogy, but I do know it. And so I like know vaguely what happens in the next 2 books, and so I don't think I'm wrong in saying this, but I also might be. So if you love these books, don't get too mad at me, because I'm only on book 1. But the 2 biggest problems I have is, the number one thing is I feel like there's just too many ideas, which I mean, I only read 1 book, so it might feel like they're more cohesive over 3 books rather than 1, but I also don't have a lot of faith in that, because from what I understand, more elements just get added on, not explaining the elements that exist. So my second biggest problem is that I feel like the chemistry just didn't make sense. Like, there is a plot point where one singular girl is brought into this group of boys, and obviously, like, she gets connected to the protagonist, which, I mean, obviously, but to me, when I was reading it, it felt more like a best friend, brother-sister bond. Like, I literally was getting sibling vibes, except then romantic things kept getting kind of like pushed in there, and it made me uncomfortable because they didn't have that kind of chemistry when I was reading it. They did because it was written, but it didn't make as much sense to me. And so I felt like it wasn't explicit in the first book, but like the vague romantic element that was like pushed in there, like, didn't make a lot of sense. It didn't feel natural. It felt a little forced. Kind of like, oh, there's a boy, there's a girl, they're gonna get together. And I just was like not interested in it. There you have it. So I gave The Maze Runner 3 stars. I really did genuinely like the main characters, like the group. Like, I enjoyed reading it and I enjoyed the characters. I just didn't necessarily like every single character, like every single characterization, or I don't know, there were a few things that I was like not as happy about. I just don't know if I'm invested enough to keep reading. The 5th book that I read was Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. I did actually read a physical copy. Me and my parents supported a local bookstore by ordering online, and then my mom walked up and picked up like a bag with our books in it. But I lent the book to a friend who I met to go for a social distance walk where we walked next to each other but 6 feet apart. Serial rereader, like I reread things like all the time, so I have like limitations for my 25 for what would count. Anything I've reread a lot does not count. Anything I've reread in the last like year doesn't count. So I've only read Simon versus Homo Sapien Agenda once, and it was over a year ago. So I decided to reread it. I knew about a teenage boy who is in the closet and kind of his experience in conservative Georgia, dealing with liking somebody and various plots that I don't want to give away in case you want to read it. I do recommend it. But yeah, it was very good. I think the first time I read it, I'm also a serial skimmer, and I like to skip to the end. I love skipping to the end of books. It takes the pressure away. Not like of finishing, like I'm gonna finish the book if I want to finish the book, I'm gonna finish the book. But it, like, if the plot is good, when I read the end, I'll still want to read the entire book. So I'm definitely a serial like skimmer, and I'm a serial like skipper. I try not to like straight up like skip actual like chunks, but I think the first time I read it I like skimmed a lot, because I reread it and realized that it was more different than I remembered. Very confused, and then I was like, oh, I skipped way too much the first time I read it. I really liked it. I liked it better the second time, probably because I didn't skip as much. Fun fact, when you don't skip parts of books, you like it more. That's what I learned. Oh, I didn't say who it was by. Becky Albertalli. I don't know if I said her last name right. I'll put it down below. I'm pretty sure the first time I put it in my Goodreads, I rated it like 3 or 4, but right now it's rated as a 5-star book. And honestly, I know you guys are probably like so stressed about me ranking these books. You don't even care. Anyways, I'm gonna go from the bottom up. Number 5 would be The Maze Runner. I still enjoyed it. It just was not my very favorite. Number 4 would probably be Powers of a Girl. I really liked it. But I don't know if I liked it as much as the other books. That's kind of where, I mean, that's what you have to do when you're ranking. I think next would be Every Word You Cannot Say, just because as time passes after reading it, I feel like because I originally ranked it a 5-star, and now I'm kind of like, oh, maybe I would put it at 4-star. Or Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. And in the number 1 spot is The Hidden Power of Effing Up. Mostly because when I was thinking about the rankings, like rating it out of 5 stars, I literally was like, well, there's nothing it could be except a 5-star. Whereas, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to know for sure whenever I upload, go ahead and ring that notification bell. Links to my social media will be down below. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe and healthy. Peace, love, and buttercups. Anyways, corn on my socks. Oh my god. Make enough. I don't know. So anyways. The fun face. Do you enjoy this face? I hate that. Anyway.